Okay, I am going in this video. I'm going to show you how to a deploy your own server that is rendering static content only. I'm not going to deploy a database. Um, we can do that in another video. I've done this a few times for junior developers who are learning how to deploy their own content. Um, and in the past, it's taken up to like 3 hours. So just because there's a lot of things to explain, this is going to be a quick how-to. Um, and I am not going to go in depth into a lot of things. I'm going to use a lot of default configurations and I'm going to keep things fairly simple. I'm not going to add a whole lot. So um, I, I'm going to use DigitalOcean because I like DigitalOcean. One of the things that I like about DigitalOcean is that it's easy to use, and I think that their documentation is very good. There are plenty of other services out there. AWS is very popular. Um, there are lots of virtual private server options, and there are a lot of more modern options that don't include getting your own virtual private server. A virtual private server just means that you're getting a virtual machine. You're getting a computer on somebody else's machine out in the cloud. Um, um, I again, you can. This is my discretion, and I really recommend DigitalOcean. But AWS provides a lot of other services that are also great. But anyway, okay. So why do I need to do this? Well, let me show you. So I made a little website for a friend's soccer club, mountjayetsoccer.com, club.com, and so like this is it, right? It's just some static content, like it's just HTML, CSS. But what I decided to do was I threw in some Angular 1 in there to handle the routing instead of having just HTML files, which would have been fine. I used Angular JS just to handle routing and some really basic JavaScript. And if I want to add some more functionality, I can. But here's the problem. Um, since I am serving up this static website with a front end only server it's called Surge, and I love Surge. It's an awesome service. It's free for the most part, unless you want to get into some more advanced stuff. And like so, it's really great. But when here I'm on the about page of my site and I click refresh, and it doesn't work. In order to make this work, I have to go to the entry page. The application will load. And since this is using JavaScript to do a lot of the rendering and not just static HTML and CSS, I have to hit this page first. But I don't want to do that. I want to be able to hit the about page and then refresh and have it work. So in order to make this work, I need to have my own server that will load the application and serve it up. And this is why I'm choosing and the same problem is going to exist if you're using something like React or Vue, anything that is using JavaScript to render and route, then you're going to have this problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to DigitalOcean and I'm going to create a new droplet. A droplet is what DigitalOcean calls their virtual private servers. And I'm going to create, and I think they just do Linux. And they have a bunch of things here. You can say container distributions, one-click apps. If you're just looking for a one-off application, then you can do these. They have like, I'm going to use Node. This is a Node server. Um, what's nice about these one-click apps is that it gives you a lot of pre-set up configuration. Um, but I like just having my own server so that I can do whatever I want with it. I use Mac and Linux, and so I like the Bash console. So if you're on Windows, this is not going to be as straightforward for you. A lot of things are going to be some things are going to be different. Um, Once you get into the virtual private servers console, it will be straightforward. So also when I first started learning how to deploy my own applications, I kept saying this word image, and I was confusing that with like a photograph or a painting or a drawing, and that's not what it is. In the hardware world, an image or in the IT world, an image is the a pre-configured um, computer. Like so, it's like I have a snapshot, or I have all of the configuration and settings of a computer saved, so I can create a new virtual machine and start up that image. I can duplicate it, right? So I'm going to select an image. I'm going to select a pre-configured. computer. A server is just a computer. So I'm going to go with, I highly recommend you go with either 16.43 or 14.45. I have been using 14.4.5 for a while. It's just what I know. There's really not a whole, there are some differences, but the documentation on these on both of these is good, but since again my discretion, I'm going to go with 14.5, 14.4.5. There's you can really go with either one and be safe. And this is just a little demo. I'm going to destroy this later, so I'm just going to pick the cheapest level. And really, for most things, like I have multiple applications running on my main server, and I'm at the $10 level, so it's really not that much. I think I have like 6 apps running on there, but they don't get a lot of traffic. And actually, sometimes they do get. And DigitalOcean will just bump you up to whatever your usage is. If you need the terabyte storage or the transfer, great. But if I just go over 2 terabytes, they'll bump me up to the next level, and um, it's nice. So I'm going to choose a data center region. I'm in the United States on the East Coast. I'm going to pick New York. If I were in Germany and most of my users were coming from Germany or Europe, it would make sense to use Amsterdam, Frankfurt, or London or something. Um, so I'm not going to pick these other additional options. But what I am going to do is I'm going to add an SSH key. An SSH key is SSH stands for Secure Shell. So here's my terminal here. This is the terminal on my computer. And am I still SSH in? What is it? No. Okay, I just see this is root. I logged into a virtual program machine a little while ago. SSH means secure shell. It's a cryptographic network. So what it means is I can use my terminal and I can log in to this server that's going to be in New York, and I can control that like it's my personal computer. So a lot of this is going to be done in the console. So actually, we're going to start now. So I need an SSH key. Now, again, the documentation for DigitalOcean is really good. So I'm just going to Google let's see, like add SSH key DigitalOcean. And how to use SSH keys, how to configure. Okay, I've looked at this one before. So a lot of this is, if you read through this and follow this step by step, you will I'm going to go through these steps. I've done it enough that I have the basic idea, and I do make mistakes. But I'm going to go to my home directory by typing cd, and ls will show me that I'm in my root. I'm sorry, my home. If I do ls-a, I'll see that I have a .ssh folder. It's a hidden folder. So I'm going to clear, and I'm going to generate a new SSH key. So I'm going to type in SSH-keygen. And what I'm going to do, this is going to create a new SSH key. I'm going to overwrite my existing one. And so I'm generating a new public and a private RSA key, right? So enter the file in which I want to save the key. So this is going to be in the .ssh folder in the ID RSA file. But you'll see here, so I'm going to click enter. I'm going to overwrite it. Yes, overwrite it. I'm not going to use a password. It's probably good to use a password, but honestly, for my own personal stuff, unless it's if it's for a client, I use a password, or if it's for work, I absolutely use a password. If it's not if it's not really important, crucial stuff, I kind of don't worry about it too much. Security people, hackers, leave me alone. Cool. So if I'm gonna type in ls-a, I can see my SSH folder. I'm going to cd into that just for ease, SSH, and I can see here I have 2 files. I have an IDRSA and an IDRSA pub. The .pub is my public key, and this is the key that I want to put onto my droplet. So I'm going to print that out. with just by typing cat, and I'm in the SSH folder, so I'm going to do cat ID tab, and I like to tab complete. Tab complete lets me know that like things are spelled correctly. .pub, and it's going to print out this this string, this collection of letters, and make sure that you get all of it. In the past, I've like accidentally done things like this, like I've missed some letters. So you want to get the letters starting with SSHRSA all the way to the end, and I do not want this Tanner PCS loaner local. This is a company machine that I'm on, and I'm going to give it back soon, so it's all going to be cleared out. So all this is going to be overwritten anyway. But so this is the SSH key, and I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go back to this droplet that I'm creating. I'm going to add my new SSH key, and I'm going to paste it in here, and I'm going to call this temp. Okay, so now I have my SSH key saved, and I'm going to say just one droplet. I could create multiple instances, but let's see the message. Okay, so this is going to take a minute while it's spinning up. Also, I am at home with kids in the background, so if you hear screaming, crying, or slamming doors, that's there are 3 of the 4 kids are home at the moment. Okay, so I now have a droplet. I now have a server. I should have named it. I think I can go like change it. If I come in here to my settings, my personal settings, and go to security, um, I can see my where is it? SSH keys. So I have like here I have um, multiple SSH keys, um, and I usually have multiple. So cool. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going now that this virtual private server exists. I'm going to copy the IP address, and I'm going to come to my terminal. I'm going to clear it out, and I am going to use that SSH key, and I'm going to I'm going to CD to my home just for convenience, and I'm going to type SSH, and I'm currently the root user. I have not created a dev user or a Tanner user or anything else. I am currently root, so I'm going to SSH root. I'm going to type root. That's the username. If I had a dev user or an admin user, that's what I type here. But I'm going to root at the IP address. And it says that the authenticity hasn't been established. Do I want to continue? Yes. And now here's what it says. Permanently added this address to the list of known hosts. Now, and then, so what I've done, my computer had not recognized that I have logged into this virtual machine, and it recognizes that I've connected to it before. So it's going to associate that SSH key with this server. So, and right down here, this is what we want to see. I am now, even though like I'm still using my computer, and this terminal is on my computer. I am now, maybe I should have made this bigger to begin with. I am now actually acting as the root user on this virtual machine. So if I type ls, there's nothing here. So I'm going to type cd ls, there's nothing here. Let's see, cd, wait, ls-a. Okay, look, see, like I'm in here. I'm going to cd, actually, well, there's a few things that I can do. So here is my root directory. So like I'm in this, and like you can see if I type into like, um, there's no users, like user, anyway, like there's nothing here. Um, so cool. Now that I have this server, I need to do a few things. This is a vanilla clean server. There's nothing going on here. So I need to install a few things. So I'm going to Google deploy node app. Okay, you can see it. Deploy node app DigitalOcean Ubuntu, and the version that I'm on 14.04. Um, so there's a few things that I need to do. Since this is a completely clean server, I'm going to run a few commands. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run sudo um, apt get update. Apt-get is a Linux command. You use it to run a lot of things. If you're getting applications or installing applications, or just running a general like update, make sure things are up to date, you'll use apt-get a lot. So don't be afraid of that command. Well, maybe we should be afraid of that command. We're doing this update. Okay, so all up to date. I'm going to clear this out, and I need to install Git. So currently, if I say like Git, it doesn't know what it is. So I'm going to type sudo apt get install Git. And then I'm going to continue, yes. And cool. So root at Ubuntu. Cool. So now if I type Git, it's going to give me a bunch of commands. Like Git is now available. And that's how I'm going to use Git to clone down the repository, to clone down my repo from GitHub. So I'll clear that out. The next thing I'm going to do is I need to install Node. I don't have Node installed. This guide gives me this gives me commands, but I prefer to use NVM. So NVM allows me to install like multiple versions of Node or a specific version that I want, not just the current latest. So I'm just Googling NVM, and this is the Node version manager. Just taking a second. And I guess my connection is just going slow. This is annoying. Cancel. What's up? You can pull it in. Oh, wait. It says, I see this says NVM installation here. NVM. How to install using NVM. Oh, wait. Is this it? NVM point. Oh, maybe. I thought that this said, no, this one doesn't. This one does. Weird. I just got a error from GitHub. Come on. Load, load, load. I'm pretty sure this is it, but I always go to this source to get the command. And it is not loading. I'm going to say, let's just use this. So this is the command. Usually I would go to the GitHub repo, and it's just a simple bash script, and it looks like this is it. This is, I think this is the same thing, but I'm not exactly sure since I usually get it from a different place. So I'm going to paste it in, and oh, let me see. Hmm. Curl struggles lib ssl dash tab. I'm going to pause. Okay, I found I, what did I Google? I just Googled, I went back and found a different command with bash on the end. Um, paste it in here, and let's see, okay. I am not seeing what I usually see, so I'm going to cd to my root, cd /, and I'm going to cat my dot bash, let's see, ls dash a cd. Where's cd bash rc? So let's cat dot bash rc. Not seeing it. Okay, so I opened this in a different window. I went to a different window and it opened immediately. So I don't know what the problem is with this window, but I'll just drag it over here, see if I can, yeah. Okay, so this is the NVM repository, and I'm going to copy this command. And it looks like that's the exact same thing that I had before. So, let's see, cd, I'm going to cd to .var, or cd into my var, and paste it. Syntax, unexpected token. This is just odd. Let's see, syntax error, unexpected token error, new line. I've never had this error before. Okay, so I should have been recording. I paused it, but I don't know. I didn't do anything different, but I just double clicked it and pasted it in, and it ran. So you can see here, this is what I did. I just pasted it in, and it ran. So I don't know. I must have had like a space in there or something, um, because that was behaving odd. Hopefully, you don't have that same problem. Um, you should just be able to paste in, you should be able to go to this repo, go to installation. I'm on a Mac. I just use the bash curl script, and it installs it. Now, if I type nvm, it doesn't know it. And that's because um, what this did was it added nvm to my bash profile, or in this case, it's the bash RC, it's the bash configuration. So what I need to do is I need to reset that bash RC so that my bash console recognizes it. So I'm going to type source, and I'm going to use the tilde because that is going to point me to my home directory / dot. I'm going to type bash, and I'm just going to hit tab because that'll just autocomplete. Sometimes you'll have like bash RC or bash profile. By default, they use bash RC, and I hit enter. And now if I type nvm again, it should give me like all of my available commands. So nvm is what I want. I like Node Version Manager because if I ever want to update my node, I don't have to uninstall everything. It's just much easier to use. So now that I have Node Version Manager, I need to install, I have the version manager, but I don't have Node yet. And that's what I've been trying to do. So nvm install, I'm going to use version 8. So now if I type nvm which, I don't have one installed, right? Because I've installed it, but I'm not using any version yet. So now that I have, if I type nvm list, it tells me like what versions I have available, 8.9.4, but I can install like 4, 5, 6, 7. I can install in very specific ones. If I just give like say 8 or 7, it will give you the latest version of 8 or 7. But maybe I want like 8.3.4 or whatever, then I can type that in. But now I have to say nvm use 8. And I can verify that this is working by typing node-v. And I have 8.9.4. That's what I'm using. I could type in 7 or whatever. And 8 is I think the latest current stable at the moment. So, okay, so we have Node, we have Git, we're ready to get things up and running. So what I did earlier was I CD'd into /var. Oh, so I'm just going to type CD for now. CD, and like in my root, like I don't see anything here. So I'm going to type in CD /var, and that will take me to the var directory. And you can go at any time. I can like type CD /var. It'll take me to the var directory. And unless I have this backup, cache, crash, lib, local, all of these folders. I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to clear this out, and I'm going to type. I'll increase the size of this a little bit. I'm going to type make dir www. This is going to be where I put all of my servers and my apps. And now I'm going to cd into www. Okay, so there's nothing in here. I'm in my www folder, um, and I'm going to go ahead and clone down my repo here. So I'm going to get this. I went to GitHub. I got the HTTPS uh, URL for GitHub, and I'm going to type in git, and this is going to clone down a copy of that project. So git clone, and I'm going to just clone it down. And while it's loading, so now I type ls, and now I can see that I have my Mount Juliet Soccer Club dash site, and I'm going to cd into it, Mount Juliet Soccer Club site, and now I can see all of my files. I have my CNAME, my CSS, images, my HTML, my package.json, and all of that. So cool. Since I need, you can see that my package.json, I am using, I only have like two dependencies, Express and Morgan. So I'm going to I need to run my Express app, so I need to run npm install. That's going to install all of my dependencies. Um, and so now if I want to, I can just run like node, I think I have like what was my script? npm run dev. No. Okay, so usually I run nodemon when I'm just in programming mode. Nodemon is not good for running your server in production. There are two tools that I've used and have been recommended in the past. The one is called Forever, and another one is called PM2. I've used both, and recently I've started using PM2. So that is a node module, and I'm going to install that globally so that I can use it in the command line. So I'm going to run npm install -g PM2. So give that a minute. I could install Yarn and use that, be a little bit faster, but um, honestly I like just I know npm. Okay, so everything is ready to go. So I'm going to use PM2 start server.js. And PM2 is really nice because it will keep that server running. If let's say like I have a fatal bug and it crashes my server, it will keep that server alive. It will keep it watching or keep it running. And I can run like PM2 list, and it'll show me what's running. And if I like whenever I update things, I can just come here and do PM2 restart. Oh, that's not wrong thing. My bad. Um, PM. Oh, come on. PM2. Can't type. PM2 restart. Um, 0, I think. And so I restarted the ID and it restarted it. So um, this is just a manual way of doing updates. It may not necessarily be it's probably not the best. For small personal web applications, I think it's great. For static content, no problem. If you want to get into it's definitely not like continual integration or anything like that. Um, okay, so cool. Our server is running, but can we visit it? Let's come in here. I'm going to copy my IP address. I'm going to open a new tab, and I'm going to visit it. And there's nothing, right? Um, why why can't I visit it? Well, because my server is running, but it doesn't. I don't have a. I can't just access it. My server is running on a virtual machine, and I can't type in I can't just go to this IP address and expect it to know what I want it to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a tool called Nginx. And the way Nginx works is, let's say that this is my, haven't used this little drawing pad in a while. Let's say this is my virtual machine. Okay, this is my server, and I have one IP address, right? So this is my IP address. I have one way to access this server, and that's through my IP address, my public IP address. and in here, my application is running, and I'm going to call it app. That's really hard. I'm sorry, that's hard to read. And it is listening on its internal port 8,000, right? So I put it on port 8,000. I could put it on port 5,000, 9,000, 80, whatever. Um, and by default, these servers these listen on port 80. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a tool here called Nginx, and it is a reverse proxy server. So I'm going to use Nginx. And what's going to happen is I'm going to tell it to listen on port 80 because that's the default port. So it's going to be listening for like HTTP calls that come in, and it's going to say, "Hey, what are you looking for? Are you looking for a specific port, or are you looking for Mount? Are you coming from Mount Juliet soccerclub.com? So is that what you're looking for? And if it is, then it's going to say, hey, kick this request over to my app. So Nginx, it's a reverse proxy server is what it's called. I'm going to use it to do internal routing. So like when requests come in, I can route that over to 8,000. And if I had multiple servers, like this one's running on 3,000, and this one's running on 9,000, and this one's running on 80, whatever, then like Nginx can say, hey, you're looking for this website, go here. You're looking for this website, go here. You're looking for that, go there. So Nginx is just kind of an internal. It's actually Nginx can do a lot more. I'm going to stick with a very basic configuration, but Nginx is nice for that. So let's do that. So again, right now it doesn't work. So I'm going to type in, go back to my terminal, clear it out, and I'm going to type cd /etc, commonly said etc. So /etc, and I type ls, and I'm looking for Nginx, and you see it's not there. There's no Nginx. So let's go back to this little guide. My 2-year-old is trying to get in. The Onichka. Okay, and in here I know there's the command for, I think it's just sudo apt, apt install Nginx. There we go. Sudo apt get install Nginx. So sudo apt get install Nginx. It'll take a minute. Do I want to continue? I do. It's going to install Nginx. And I'm in the etc folder, and I type ls, and now you can see I have installed Nginx. Nginx is accessible as a service. We'll see that in a minute. So I'm going to clear this out. So you'll in the docs you'll see a lot of things like this, like nano /etc /nginx sites enabled or sites available, and so we're like, and then some file here. So you'll see that a lot. Personal preference, I just like to cd into the folder. It might take a little bit longer, but so I'm going to cd into, but I like to do it this way. So cd into Nginx, cd etc Nginx, and let's take a look in here. Nginx. So here, what do we have? We have some configs, some rules, params, but here there are 2 folders in particular that I'm going to look at: sites enabled and sites available. There are a few ways to do this. I'm going to stick with the absolute most simple, and I'm going to cd into sites available. Now, if in a longer version, I might show you how to use sites available and sites enabled, but I'm going to leave you here. So ls default. So right now, I have one default Nginx server, and you know what? Let's see what happens now. Look, so I went back to my server, and what happens? Now I have Nginx enabled, right? So like Nginx, I went back to my server. I didn't change anything. I just refreshed it, and it says, welcome to Nginx. If you see this page, it means that the server is successfully installed and working. But I need to do more configuration. Okay, so that's cool. What I'm going to do is let's take a look at that default config here, the default server. Let's do cat default. So this is the default. Um, so this is here. This is an example. These hashes are comments. So listen port 8000, listen some name, um, and we're saying listen 443 server name, localhost, root. So this is just some default configuration. Oh, actually, this is all just these are all just comments. Um, so that this server actually, this default file is not actually valid. Um, cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to touch MJSC, Mount Juliet Soccer Club. Enter. LS. There it is. And now I'm not. It might be easier to use like a file transfer protocol or like FTP, so I could edit this file in like an actual text editor. I'm going to use Nano. Some people, I don't like Vim. Nano is terrible, um, but it's what I use. Um, let's see. I'm gonna Google Nginx default config. Actually, wait. What am I doing? This is in the docs. This is why we have DigitalOcean, because their docs are great. So look, this is it. Here is some basic configuration. This is what we need. Okay, so I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to paste it. Now keep in mind, okay, I said I'm using Nano. What is Nano? Nano is a text editor inside the console. So you notice how like all those commands are gone? Like I can't see like the folder that I'm in, and I have all these commands down here. This is a text editor and it's super rudimentary. I have to use arrows to like get around, and it's really kind of lame. Um, and I'm going to tell you all the commands. You can't, if you're on a Mac, you can't command copy, or you can command paste, but you have to save and exit and stuff. There are very specific commands that you see down here. So here's what I want to do. So the server name of this this name here has to be the URL, the domain that I'm looking for. Like, let's say that this is mycoolsite.com, then my server name is going to be mycoolsite.com. So server name here, since I'm doing Mount Juliet Soccer Club.com, it's going to be Mount Juliet Soccer Club.com. And the other thing that I'm going to edit is this proxy pass. So um, I'm going to delete this back to ://, and I'm going to just type in, I mean, I could do like 127, whatever, but really I'm just doing localhost. Localhost : 8000. Okay, so my Node app, that server that I ran for Mount Juliet Soccer Club, it is listening on port 8000. If I come back here to the docs, or to my file, and go to server.js, super simple. Don't read that. I did this really fast. Um, I could have gotten away with a lot. Anyway, whatever. I'm saying I'm basically sitting on port 8000. So it's important to remember that if you have multiple applications running on your server, they all need to be listening on different ports. This app is listening on port 8000. So what is going to happen is whenever a request comes in, by default, every request is going to hit port 80. Like when I go to this URL or this IP, it hits port 80. And then Nginx is going to say, hey, are you looking for, like, is your DNS mountjulietsoccerclub.com? If it is, then it's going to say, hey, I'm going to pass this request along to my local host, port 8000. And it's going to pass it along to um, my app right here. So again, there's lots of config that we can do here, but I'm not going to worry about it. So okay, now I need to save this. This is Command O. So be careful here, because I'm the king of not using. I'm sorry, I said Command. This is Control. Control O. Control O. So I'm going to press Control and O, and it'll say file name to write. Oh, wait, what? Let me press Command C, Control C. Um, Control O. What? MJSC. File exists. Oh, what did I just do? Blast. Um, I did something wrong. I'm gonna copy this. Let me make sure okay, good. I can copy it. Okay, let me see what I did wrong. I'm gonna press. Okay, I'm gonna don't overwrite. No, I'm gonna do Control C to cancel. Control C. Control X to leave. Oh, I just typed. Oh, I just typed nano. My mistake. Okay, I'm afraid that I might have to fix this. Um, if you're following along, my mistake. LS, I have MJC. I do nano MJSC. That's what I meant to do. And I'm going to paste the same stuff in here. Okay, I know I just made a mistake, and that probably makes things hard to follow. What I meant to do was I meant to open. Previously, I just typed nano and hit enter, and that just opens a blank text editor for a new file. Well, I wanted to open the file that I created, MJSC. This is what I should have done. And now I'm going to paste in the same stuff that I just copied out. So again, I'm listening on port 80. My server name is montreal.soccerclub.com, and I'm passing to port 8000. And now, Command O, and it'll say name to write, enter, and Command X. Now, to make sure that works, I'm going to say cat MJSC, and I can see that cat just prints it out, right? I can see that this is my server. Cool. So now that I have added a server, I have my default and I have this MJSC. What I'm going to do is I'm going to restart Nginx. And the way that I do that is I do sudo service Nginx restart. Let me see. I think this is in the sudo service. Yeah. So like this is in the docs. Again, if you get lost because I'm rambling and hard to follow, just go to these docs. It's all right here. Sudo service Nginx restart, and it will say restarting Nginx, and we're good. So let me come back here to my site, and ta-da! Nothing is there. However, what I can do is I can type in 48,000, and there we go. This is now coming from my personal server. Okay, so I am taking a pause and I am inserting this. I forgot a crucial step. Actually, somebody told me, I want to tell you something that somebody told me. 90% of the time, when someone says they didn't, like that their server's not working, they forgot this step. And you know what? I forgot this step. I'm going to go back one folder and look at my lists. I have this sites available and sites enabled. If I look at my sites enabled, I'm sorry, my sites available, I can see that I have my MJSC Nginx server. And if I look at my sites enabled, I don't have it. So what I need to do is I need to copy my sites available server to my sites enabled server. That is what I did not do. So I'm not really going to worry about editing too much of this video. After this, I just ramble on trying to fix this error for like 20 minutes, but this is what I didn't do. So I'm going to copy sudo copy dot forward slash sites available MJSC, and I'm going to copy it to dot forward slash sites enabled forward slash MJSC. So as you can see here, I only have my default server, and now when I copy this and I run that same command, now I have this same server. So I'm going to, I can cat that out, MJSC, and it's the same thing. So everything there is going to be the same. Um, and now all I have to do in order to make that work is restart Nginx. So sudo service Nginx restart, restarting Nginx, and that will fix my problem. Now I've gone ahead and done some other stuff, but now I can see that this is working. I also had to clear cache and clear the cache in my DNS, but that is the step that I didn't do before, and you need to do. Um, Again, what we need to do is we need to copy the server from our sites available and add it to our sites enabled. So it's in two places, and I do that for every application. So let's say um, I add another website tomorrow for Joe's Plumbing or some like whatever another application. What I would do is I would create a new Nginx server in my sites available, and then I would copy it to my sites enable and restart Nginx, and that is how you do it. Um, and everything works. It's just good old static content. But here's the difference. If I click refresh, I get this. It's acting like the app that I want it to be. If I go to the current static host, now JulietSoccer.com, about, and hit refresh, it doesn't render. It doesn't serve it up because I'm using a front end framework and it's not purely static content. And there we go. So like that's not it. This is my static content. Um, Super wonderful and the most just really basic stuff, but mostly HTML and CSS. But it works, and this is what I want to do. Now the next thing I need to do is like I want this to be mountjulietsoccerclub.com. So I need to reconfigure my DNS. So I'm going to go to Google Domains. That is my personal preference. I really like Google Domains. Um, Now I have access to my buddy's Google account, um, and I'm going to um, I can keep this forward. I'm going to delete these records. Delete, delete. I was using Surge. It's all done now. And all I have to do to make this work, I'm going to go to my DigitalOcean droplet. This is the IP address. I could have gotten it somewhere. I could have gotten it here as well. And I'm going to add an A record. So I'm going to use, say, at A record, and type this in. This is going to take up to an hour. I think I'll just leave it that way. And I'm going to put in 1.5, whatever, paste it in and click add. And it will automatically save it. So now my DNS, this is my my name server. This says beta up here, domains beta, but I've been using it for like 2 years. I really like Google Domains. I've used Namecheap. I've used GoDaddy. Google Domains is not the cheapest. Namecheap is probably the cheapest that I've used, but Google Domains is just clean and easy to use, and I think it's really straightforward. So, and actually, DigitalOcean has their own domain server now. So I saw it somewhere. Um, I've never used it. If it's DigitalOcean, it's probably really easy to use as well. Um, so something that I like to use is what's my DNS.net. Um, and it's just a nice little tool. So if I type in mountjulietsoccerclub.com, it will tell me like, okay, what is my DNS? And it should like this is propagating pretty fast. Sometimes this can take like up to an hour. Like here it says 1 hour. TTL, time to live, how often a copy of the record stored in cache must be updated. So I've had this take 30 minutes before. One time, multiple times, I thought stuff was broken. Um, so if you're in Nicollet, Canada, or Delhi, India, you can't see my site yet. But now, um, so now that this has been able to propagate, I let this sit and propagate for a little bit. It didn't load at first because it needed some time. And now that I can see that this has fully propagated and it's available everywhere, and this is the IP address for my virtual private server. Um, Now I can go to mountjulietsoccerclub.com, and this is available. And the true test is, can I refresh it on a JavaScript rendered page? And I can. So I can go to one of these pages and everything works. So um, that is how you can use DigitalOcean to set up a node server that will render your static content. And really, at this point, it's pretty straightforward. If you wanted to connect to a database and have a fully functioning web application, you can. Um, the this my node server is only serving up some static content, but if you know Express and you know how to create full stack applications, then you can really just tap into a database, whether it be on a separate server, or you could load Postgres, MySQL, or Mongo into your virtual private server, your DigitalOcean server, and use that as well. So I hope this is helpful. I hope this clears up some questions that you might have had about how to deploy a node server online. Um, I like this process. Again, if you look around, you will find many, many options. And there are many, many good options. But um, I like this doing this because I feel like I have control over my settings and my configuration, but it's also still not as complicated as some other options. Um, I think this is an appropriate way to deploy small web applications, things that are not going to be overwhelmed with tons of traffic. Um, you can also take a number of security measures to make sure that you aren't attacked. I mean, I didn't really do much in the way of security for this website, but there's not really much. There's not really any sensitive information. Um, but again, I hope this is helpful, and good luck.